Myst, Might, Mayhem. By Han Jung-Wheolya. Chapter 106. Fateful Luck. Part 1. Mok Jyeongun's collapsed body was crumbling like tree bark. And from within that shattering shell, a new skin filled with luster was rising. Looking at this, Chong Ryong couldn't hide her excitement and muttered, "Rebirth through transformation. Rebirth through transformation." It literally means changing the bones and shedding the womb. It's a phenomenon where the body undergoes a rapid change in response to enlightenment, and a truly strange thing had occurred. It's something that could only happen when one reaches the transformation realm. Originally, rebirth through transformation is only possible after gaining enlightenment at the wall called the end of the supreme transcendent realm and achieving 3 flowers gathering at the crown and 5 energies paying homage to the origin. Through these 2 enlightenments, when the conception and governing vessels are opened, one becomes able to handle energy incomparable to the supreme transcendent realm, and the body undergoes a rapid reconstruction to withstand it. However, Mok Jyeongun had not crossed the wall. He had merely absorbed the demonic energy of the raccoon spirit beast who called itself the Lord of the Western Sea. Yet, to think that rebirth through transformation occurred to withstand that energy. Strange. Strange indeed. How could such a body exist? He hadn't even crossed the wall, yet his body was reconstructed to withstand that demonic energy. One couldn't help but click their tongue in amazement. Different. The sequence of this fellow's growth process was completely different from that of ordinary martial artists. Indeed, from the beginning, he had accumulated death energy, which could be called evil energy, in his danjian, and even controlled it with a reverse energy circulation technique. Perhaps it was natural for it to be different. I might be witnessing the birth of a master with a completely different form from the martial arts world thus far. Having this thought, a smirk unknowingly escaped her lips. She wondered what it would have been like if she had accepted him as a disciple while alive, not after death. However, if she had been alive until now, she would have been a hunched old granny. As the dead skin completely peeled off, Mok Jyeongun raised his body. Skin dust falling off. His entire body felt light. He sensed that his body's energy was not only full but had surpassed its limits. Just a moment ago, it had been painful as if his insides were being burned by fire, but there was no more pain. Even his broken bones had all healed, as there was no abnormality in his movements. Was I lucky? This time, he had been prepared to die. But fortunately, contrary to that resolution, a fateful encounter had come, and he had become even stronger. Stronger. It was truly fascinating. The spirit beast that had been sealed for thousands of years and weakened. Just by absorbing the power of that spirit beast, his energy had increased so explosively. At this level, even a master who had reached the pinnacle stage of peak realm wouldn't be a problem. Mok Jyeongun suddenly recalled the words of Zhou Yuigong, the diviner. "You heard there was no one?" "Yes. I don't know who you heard it from, but it's not entirely impossible." "It's not impossible?" "Yes. I, too, didn't believe it at first. But it is real. Among the diviners who have received the title of God, there are 2 who have subdued spirit beasts and made them their servant spirit." 2? Yes. 2 of them. It's astonishing. I'm saying this just in case, but Azura. They are beings from outside the world. To begin with, one of them is a human and a malevolent. No. Anyway, spirit beasts have surpassed the realm that humans can handle. They are disasters themselves. Zhou Yuigong had said. He said that among the 6 divine diviners, considered the pinnacle of diviners, 2 diviners had spirit beasts as their servant spirit. Recalling this, he thought he still had a long way to go. He couldn't even handle a spirit beast that had been sealed for a long time and weakened. It was fortunate that the power of the seal still remained, otherwise, he would have lost his life here. But what did that being mean by those words? He remembered the words spoken by the monstrous raccoon spirit beast when it came out of his body. "What in the world is that thing inside you?" What did it mean by saying there was something inside me? Mok Jayangan was puzzled. Come to think of it, most of the vengeful spirits that had tried to possess him also seemed to have a shocked reaction after discovering something. What could be inside him that even a spirit beast would say such a thing? It was puzzling. At that moment, mortal. Mok Jayangan looked at Chong Ryong. Ah? Mok Jayangan frowned at her hazy appearance. She had become more transparent than when she had grabbed his wrist and pulled him, and she was gradually becoming more so. Chong Ryong? Rebirth, through transformation. This is quite interesting. Despite having learned martial arts, for only a short time, you entered the initial stage of transcendent realm, but reconstructed your body through rebirth. At this rate, you might really reach transformation realm within 2 years, as you boldly declared. Chong Ryong, your spiritual energy has greatly weakened. Trying to save you, I ended up like this. I didn't do it to hear words of gratitude. So you don't need to pity me. She was reciting as if making her last words while struggling to speak. It was clearly visible to Mok Jayangan's eyes as well. Her spiritual energy, which was like a blazing flame, was gradually diminishing like a dying candle. To her, Mok Jayangan asked in an uncomprehending tone, I told you not to come in, so why did you? If you die, we all die anyway, so what do you expect me to do? Chong Ryong answered as if hesitating for a moment. At her appearance, Mok Jayangan stared intently at her face. At this, Chong Ryong spoke in a burdened tone. Why are you staring at me like that? Surely you're not feeling sad that I'm being extinguished? Being extinguished? Yes. There is no more hope for me. Chong Ryong was somewhat aware of it. Her spiritual energy had already weakened to the point where she couldn't maintain her own spirit body. She had a vast amount of spiritual energy to live as a vengeful spirit for 100 years, but having lost most of it, how could she remain mortal? With your personality, you wouldn't grieve over the death of a servant spirit. So just listen to one request. I don't desire anything else. Just the Heaven and Earth Society. Before Chong Ryong could finish her words, Mok Jayangan grabbed her hand. And he said, let's talk about that after you recover first. What? As soon as that question ended, a majestic energy surged in from Mok Jayangan's hand. It was an energy quite different from her spiritual energy. Demonic energy? That's right. It was the demonic energy Mok Jayangan had seized from the raccoon spirit beast. Mok Jayangan had absorbed enough demonic energy to reconstruct his body, refine it into evil energy in his danjian, and still have some left over. As the demonic energy surged in, her eyes trembled. What is this? A strange thing occurred. Unlike malevolent spirits that could swallow and devour even vengeful spirits couldn't accept or absorb the demonic energy of those higher entities close to them. But the demonic energy was surging in through Mok Jayangan's palm. And that demonic energy was filling her entire body. Ah! Her spirit body, which had been becoming transparent, gradually became denser. Then, it quickly returned to its usual appearance. But it didn't end there. Mortal. Wait. You. Concentrate. The amount of demonic energy surging in exceeded the level of spiritual energy she originally possessed. This fellow. At this, despite being a spirit body, she sat cross-legged. And as if circulating energy like when she was alive, she focused on making the incoming energy her own. How can this be? Watching this from outside the red line, green spirit Gyu Soha's eyes widened. It was clearly visible to Gyu Soha's ghostly eyes. Chong Ryong's spiritual energy was rapidly increasing, and it was trying to raise her level beyond her original limits. And eventually, it truly materialized. A chilling energy that rippled and spread around Chong Ryong. Due to that, the bookshelves around the cavity shook violently. As her level rose even higher, the spiritual energy flowing from her spirit body greatly influenced even the world with substance. Chong Ryong opened her closed eyes. A fierce bloody light that gave an even greater sense of pressure to the onlookers. Ah! Even she herself let out an exclamation as if feeling that her level had risen higher than before. At this, Mok Jaeyonan let go of her hand and said, "It seems I'm not the only one with good luck." "What did you do?" "It could have been dangerous." "It turned out well." "At least better than being extinguished, right?" "You, really?" She couldn't finish her words. She had been prepared for extinction, but her level as a vengeful spirit had risen. It couldn't be more ironic. To such Chong Ryong, Mok Jaeyonan said, "If my eyes aren't mistaken, it seems your level has risen even higher. Should I call you Indigo Spirit now?" Indigo Spirit. The basic writings of the school of Yin and Yang states the following: a vengeful spirit that has existed for more than 300 years. Its spiritual power reaches a level where it materializes beyond auditory and visual hallucinations, and it is a being close to a disaster, almost on par with high-ranking malevolent spirits such as demonic beasts. To subdue it, at least 100 diviners are required, but even that is uncertain. Should this also be called fateful luck? Mok Jaeyonan was still connected to Chong Ryong through the servant spirit bond. But the fact that her level had become strong enough to reach that of a blue spirit was no different from his power increasing by another level. At that moment, Chong Ryong spoke, "Forget it. Just call me Chong Ryong." "Pardon?" "If you keep changing it back and forth, it'll be confusing, so just call me Chong Ryong." As she spoke bluntly and turned her head away for no reason, Mok Jaeyonan smirked and said, "Could it be that you like the name Chong Ryong? What nonsense are you spouting?" Chong Ryong glanced at Mok Jaeyonan and snorted. At this, Mok Jaeyonan shrugged his shoulders as if to say, "If you say so." While they were doing so, someone's voice was heard. "Master." There, green spirit Gyu Soha, with both arms missing and half-transparent, was teary-eyed. Seeing such Gyu Soha, Chong Ryong narrowed her eyes and sighed, saying, "Do you have any demonic energy left?" *******. I'll be waiting, so please make sure to come and get me." Elder Yang Muwon, the keeper of the treasure vault, spoke to Mok Jaeyonan, who was about to pass through the formation at the entrance, as if earnestly pleading. As evident from his changed tone, Gyu Soha had possessed his body. They had to take this measure because Elder Yang Muwon had witnessed something and couldn't just leave it alone. However, despite verbally pleading to come and get him, Gyu Soha's expression was quite gleeful. "She's in high spirits." "In high spirits indeed." "Well, that's understandable." That's because Gyu Soha, who had absorbed the remaining demonic energy Mok Jaeyonan possessed, had astonishingly risen from a green spirit to a blue spirit. She was originally close to a blue spirit, but the high-purity demonic energy had properly acted as an uplifting force. Anyway, after entrusting this place to Gyu Soha, Mok Jaeyonan passed through the formation at the cavity entrance and descended the cliff. There, senior warrior Guak Munjiai was waiting with a bored expression, leaning against the cliff. Then, when someone tapped his back, he was startled and tried to take a defensive stance while keeping a distance, but... "Oh? You? Did you wait long?" Mok Jaeyonan asked with a bright smile. At his appearance, Guak Munjiai's expression stiffened. What in the world? Although Mok Jaeyonan had qualified as a provisional elder, the energy he sensed was at best only first-rate, so he had considered him a step below himself. But what was happening? "I can't sense it." He could barely sense the energy of Mok Jaeyonan in front of his eyes. Both his presence and energy were faint. He was right in front of him, so what was going on? Could it be that he had gained some enlightenment in the treasure vault? Chapter 107. Fateful Luck. Part 2. Gyu Soha, who had possessed Elder Yang Muwon, the keeper of the treasure vault, was diligently carrying rock fragments and cleaning. She had to erase the traces of what had happened here as much as possible. Throughout doing these chores, a smile didn't leave Gyu Soha's lips. That was because not only had her level risen, but she had also gained a body, albeit temporarily, and even had free time. Moreover, it was in this treasure vault overflowing with vast amounts of secret manuals. He. Although she had become a vengeful spirit, Gyu Soha was originally a martial artist at her core. Naturally, before her death, she had aimed for a high realm, so this place filled with secret manuals was no different from paradise. As Gyu Soha was organizing the small cavity where the red line was drawn, she looked at a bookshelf with only a lone wooden box placed on it, without anything else. What could it be? The wooden box was none other than the one containing the scroll that sealed the spirit beast. That wooden box said to be made from sacred spirit wood. Strangely, the box that had shattered and turned to ashes had returned to its original state. Is it truly the power of immortals? Mok Jiangun, Chong Ryong, and Gyu Soha had all witnessed the sight of something already broken and decayed returning to its original state. It had occurred at the moment when Mok Jiangun was pondering what to do with the scroll in his hand. As if time was being rewound, the surrounding dust gathered and formed the shape of the wooden box, returning it to its original state. It's truly fascinating. Even Gyu Soha, a vengeful spirit, found it peculiar. Should it be said to have transcended the realm of sorcery? Thanks to that, Mok Jiangun, who had been contemplating what to do with it, ordered Gyu Soha to stay here for a while and guard the wooden box. I think I'll have to leave it here for a while. You won't eat it? No. It might cause trouble if I eat it. I'm joking. I know it's not a joke. The master likes to eat these things. Anyway, it seems best not to touch this for now. If anyone comes in here and tries to touch or look for the wooden box, please let me know. Yes. Master. Mok Jiangun was interested in the one who had left the sealed wooden box here. Why had they left such a dangerous thing in this place? Perhaps by guarding this place as instructed by the master, she would find out whether that person with 3 eyes mentioned by the raccoon spirit beast would appear or not. Asterisk. It was late at night in the inner city of the Heaven and Earth Society. In the garden of a large estate located in the southwest of the city, there was a middle-aged man with a sharp impression and a small stature, standing with his hands behind his back, gazing at the moon. As he was immersed in appreciating the moon, someone's cough was heard behind him. Ahem. At this, the middle-aged man with a small stature turned around as if he knew. And he put his hands together and bowed in greeting. Ah. I am honored that Thunderbolt Fist King, one of the 5 kings, has come to this humble place. The middle-aged man with a mustache, who appeared to be in his mid-50s, had no sleeves visible on his arms, and he wore strange iron rings on his muscular arms. He was one Byung Hak, the Thunderbolt Fist King, one of the 5 kings, the highest-ranking executives of the Heaven and Earth Society. One Byung Hak also bowed with his hands together and spoke to the middle-aged man. It's been a while. Shadow Clan Master. The identity of the middle-aged man with a small stature was the Shadow Clan Master, 1. Although his position was 1 level below the 5 kings, he was one of the 3 chief masters, a high-ranking executive of the Heaven and Earth Society. Unlike other chief masters, his name was attached due to confidentiality, so everyone called him by his title, Shadow Clan Master. Oh ho ho. It's been a while since the grand meeting 2 months ago. At the Shadow Clan Master's ingratiating voice, the Thunderbolt Fist King 1 Byung Hak subtly frowned as if he wasn't used to it. That was because this man's way of speaking was never easy to adapt to, no matter how many times he heard it. It reminded him of the eunuchs in the imperial palace, and because he mixed in a tone that women would use, it sometimes even gave an unpleasant feeling. He's truly a peculiar one. Even the face he was seeing now wasn't real. It was a human skin mask. A human skin mask was a thin mask similar to skin, made using human or pig skin to create a form that was difficult to distinguish from a real human face. The Shadow Clan Master was the only one in the inner city who was allowed to wear this human skin mask. Even if he's in charge of intelligence and secrets. Was there a reason for him not to show his real face even to them? The Shadow Clan master changed his human skin mask about every 3 months, so the only one who knew his real face was said to be the society leader. Hugh. Anyway, what was important wasn't his real face. The Thunderbolt Fist King Won Byung-hak said. Shadow Clan Master. I must first apologize for rudely visiting at such a late hour. Not at all. I heard you came and went a couple of times while I was away, so how could it be you who should apologize? I should be the one feeling sorry. Thank you for saying that. Oh ho ho. Then, may I ask the reason for your visit at such a late hour? Of course. In fact, since it might be a request more discourteous than visiting late at night, I brought this as a bribe and gift to the Shadow Clan Master. The Thunderbolt Fist King Won Byung-hak held up a white wine bottle in one hand. At this, the Shadow Clan Master asked in puzzlement. What is that? This is firewood wine that has been aged for 25 years. Oh ho. Is that true? Firewood wine. It was one of the famous Shaoxing wines, along with newer Hong wine, and was called a famous liquor. It was a wine that became deeper in fragrance and stronger in flavor depending on the aging period, and it was also a wine used to celebrate special occasions. The Shadow Clan Master accepted the wine bottle as if he was grateful and said, I don't know if I should receive this. Since it's a bribe I brought, of course you can accept it. I drank newer Hong wine at my daughter's engagement ceremony, and I brought this firewood wine after much contemplation. Firewood wine was a wine that was brewed and buried when a son was born, and then taken out and enjoyed with relatives and friends on the day the son grew up and took the civil service examination, passed as a top scholar, or got married. However, the Thunderbolt Fist King Won Byung-hak had no son. He had buried it along with newer Hong wine 25 years ago before his daughter was born, so he had been wondering when to take it out and drink it. Since the Shadow Clan Master liked aged wine, he brought it here. For you to bring such a precious item that you cherished, it would be difficult to refuse the request even before hearing it. It may be discourteous, but perhaps it won't be a big request for the Shadow Clan Master. Not a big request? The Thunderbolt Fist King Won Byung-hak bowed with his hands together and politely said. I know it's rude, but if there is a trainee from an esoteric realm gate at tomorrow's final ceremony of Corpse Blood Valley, I hope you can yield to me. Esoteric realm gate? That's right. It's a child I've had my eye on for a long time, so I came late at night, risking rudeness. The Thunderbolt Fist King Won Byung-hak's request was just that. At the final ceremony tomorrow, the executives participating will have the right to select the trainees who pass the final gate as their subordinates. Here, Won Byung-hak had already set his sights on a trainee from an esoteric realm gate. At this, the Shadow Clan Master said. We don't know the results yet, but judging from your words, that trainee seems to be a quite outstanding talent. A child with potential. Someone with the qualifications to complete the True Source Thunderbolt Fist. He already had one disciple. However, he failed to complete the final stance of the True Source Thunderbolt Fist and ended up with a crippled right arm. That's how difficult it was to even learn his unique skill. So you've been going around asking other executives who will be at Corpse Blood Valley tomorrow. In fact, the Shadow Clan Master had predicted his purpose to some extent. Due to the nature of the Shadow Sect, which dealt with intelligence and secret agents, he was always keeping an eye on the city, so he had guessed that he was going around asking for something related to tomorrow's final ceremony. And that guess was correct. I see. Alright. However, he didn't reveal this. If he found out that his movements were being tracked, it would only upset the Thunderbolt Fist King's mood. I know it's a rude request, but... Not at all. After receiving such a precious wine, how could I refuse the Thunderbolt Fist King's request? Oh, so you can do that for me? Of course. Oh ho ho. At the Shadow Clan Master's ingratiating laughter, the Thunderbolt Fist King lightly bowed his head to express his gratitude. That's how much he coveted that talent. To him, the Shadow Clan Master said. By the way, if it's not too rude, may I also make a request to the Thunderbolt Fist King on this occasion? A request? Actually, since there is only one right to choose, it's fine, but I'm telling you in advance in case you change your mind. What do you mean? Yes. I also have one talent I covet. So I'm participating in tomorrow's final ceremony to take them as my disciple. At those words, the Thunderbolt Fist King One Byung-hak nodded his head. He had expected that to be the case. The Shadow Clan master had never participated despite having several opportunities. The fact that he was participating this time meant... Could it be that child? From the Demon Fire Hall, yes. That's right. Ah. As expected. His prediction was correct. The Demon Fire Hall was once called the Four Great Assassin Groups. The rumor that a girl with tremendous talent from there was participating in the gates of Corpse Blood Valley had spread even among the executives. You don't need to worry about that. I only want a boy with a physique capable of properly utilizing the Thunderbolt Fist. Oh ho ho. Thank you for saying that. It's a relief and I'm grateful. The Shadow Clan master clapped his hands like a woman and spoke. His voice was so androgynous that the Thunderbolt Fist King One Byung-hak inwardly wondered if he might be a woman. Although her talent was outstanding, the fact that he was choosing a girl made it even more so. But he was contemplating whether he should tell him or not. That fearsome woman was also coveting the girl from the Demon Fire Hall. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Emo Haring of the Demon Fire Hall slightly furrowed her brows. Suddenly, her right ear felt itchy, and if this wasn't Mok Jae-un's room, she would have wanted to stick her finger in and scratch it vigorously. Your expression looks like your ear is itchy. She inwardly flinched at Mok Jae-un's words but tried her best not to show it. Anyhow, he was remarkably good at reading others' thoughts. But why did he suddenly call for her? And at such a late hour? Could it be because of the final gate tomorrow? Unless there's a special variable, there's no way someone monstrous like you would fail to pass the final gate. In the end, she asked out of curiosity, but why did you call for me? After agreeing to become a faithful dog or slave, she treated Mok Jae-un with the utmost respect. To her question, Mok Jae-un replied, "Ah. It's nothing much. Can you be my light sparring partner?" Sparring partner for what? She unknowingly swallowed her saliva. It was slightly suspicious that he had called her alone late at night when he usually didn't. Could it be that calling her in the middle of the night? Can you spar with me? SP. Spar? For a moment, she let out a soft sigh. Should it be said that she was slightly relieved? Indeed, if this devilish man had seen her as a woman, he wouldn't have treated her like a faithful dog or slave after poisoning her. But what's with this sudden talk of sparring? He had already sparred with her once, so sparring would be largely meaningless. Or not. Thinking about it, it might not be so meaningless. Come to think of it, the final gate might be a pure test of martial arts, unlike the previous ones that tested survival skills and potential. In that case, using sparring to sharpen one's senses beforehand could also be a method. And I did want to get my revenge. Although she had pledged loyalty due to the poison, she had vowed to break free from it someday. And with her own righteous skills at that. Emo Haring's eyes changed as she looked at Mok Jae-un. Her eyes were already moving back and forth, searching for Mok Jae-un's weaknesses. It's different from back then. Back then, she couldn't accurately gauge Mok Jae-un's level. But now, after observing him closely several times, she had an idea of his martial arts level and what he was skilled at. She was already picturing it in her mind. To fight against Mok Jae-un, she had to avoid directly clashing with him as much as possible. Usually, when his true energy and trajectory differed, even a slight collision would cause the martial power to scatter. It was the same for her master. If I don't give him an opening, a somewhat lethal picture could be drawn. Back then, she had approached the fight with the intention of not killing Mok Jae-un, so she didn't use killing techniques or secret skills. But if she approached it with the real intention to kill, it might be possible. Your eyes are brimming with enthusiasm. Ah. Well, if that's the case, you can attack me with the intention of really killing me. What? If you subdue me, I'll give you the antidote. At Mok Jaeyoung's words, Mo Harang's expression changed significantly. Just a moment ago, it was merely a hypothetical situation she had envisioned, but if there was a reward at stake, the story would be different. If the linked kill and the secret sword technique of the Killing King, the flash shadow flying dagger technique, were combined, she was confident she could kill anyone at her level. Do you really mean that? Yes. I promise. If you can subdue me right now, before Mok Jaeyoung's words could even finish. Small daggers in the shape of hidden weapons popped out from the sleeves of her right and left arms. It was a preemptive strike. She intended to make the first move before Mok Jaeyoung could react and decide the match. The origin of her martial arts was assassination. Therefore, the key was to disrupt the opponent's timing rather than openly fighting against them. However, thud. Mo Harang's expression instantly stiffened. What is this? What was going on? She was certain that she had moved first as soon as he finished speaking. But somehow, Mok Jaeyoung's blade finger was already touching her neck. I didn't see it. Back then, she had thought that she was far superior at least in terms of speed. But now, she couldn't see Mok Jaeyoung's movements at all. She couldn't even perceive it, yet the tip of his finger was touching her. You're slow. Drip. At Mok Jaeyoung's words, a drop of cold sweat trickled down Mo Harang's fair cheek. It felt like her neck would be pierced with the slightest movement.